so many HR-related lawsuits in the US and Germany, right? So even TSMC, right, they struggle going abroad. Right? They've had lawsuits from actually the first, even before they opened the facilities. So it's very important that the country develop a better nucleus of human resource related talent. Because even our most successful companies are, frankly, very poor at human resources. And I think the real reason is that in Taiwan company, the human resource function is always one or two grade levels down in the executive's mind from the normal C-suite. You don't really see a human resource, C-suite member in a local company. And if that doesn't change, then the transformation process will never work for these companies. So we'll go through a little bit, and I have a couple of case studies, one for Cisco, one for Samsung. The Samsung one I actually lived through and led that transformation for the chairman at the time. So I'm actually a medical doctor by training, but I also, it took me 8 years to get a bachelor's degree in economics. But sometimes life experience is more important than formal education. Anyway, welcome, and transformation, whether we're digital, any kind of transformation, for a lot of people is very difficult by human nature. Generally, people are resistant to change, even when it's positive. And because you're studying in Taiwan, unlike some of your home countries, a lot of companies here actually have a true 5-generation workforce. So a Far Eastern group that I work with, and I'm actually helping the transition from the current chairman, who's 85 this year, to his son, who's 48. So I have, and the 85-year-old is not the oldest executive in our group. I actually have a couple people in their 90s still working. And then I have college graduates that we hire. So I have people from over 90 to early 20s, just in Taiwan. In the office, not just in the factories, even in the office, I have a true 5-generation workforce. And historically, we have no example of a major transformation occurring with more than 3 generations of worker. So if we don't understand the basics, how to transform in the human behavioral aspects and the cultural aspects, we'll never get to a 5-generation transformation. So for those of you who want to work in Taiwan afterwards, this topic is really important for you, because companies don't have anyone like you to help them do this. So what I hope everyone can get out of this is a basic idea how to get it right the first time. Because when you talk about a major transformation that touches cultural aspects, people's livelihood, their futures, when you make a mistake, people will be even more resistant the second time around to try the change. Hey, your internet. Yeah.
Maybe you need to point the,
Huh?
you need to point, yeah, the company.
So actually, when you look at the transformations that have been successful, there's really 3 major factors. You need alignment with the leadership group. They all have to agree that you have to transform, and they all want to go in the same direction. Because to transform a company, you need every function to follow. It can't just be one department saying we need to change. Because especially in a manufacturing company, the work process is very complicated and very lengthy. You have to remove obstacles. And in a lot of cultures, it's very difficult to remove obstacles. Sometimes it's because purely cultural reasons, sometimes it's for legal reasons. So in Germany, for example, it's very difficult to fire workers. Right? Taiwan, culturally it's difficult, and procedurally it's a little complicated. So there's a lot of different types of barriers that you have to work through. Now, interestingly enough, the major transformations, it involves removing less than 15% of the top-level management. In real numbers, the Samsung one was 27 people. Cisco was 8 people. So if you're the owner of a company, and you can dramatically reshape your company, ensure your longevity, improve your profitability. You'll see later the Samsung example, I just paid people to stay home. First time chairman, are you nuts? No. If I let them keep coming to the office and they're an obstacle, it slows down progress, and I can't actually measure how much they're costing the company because it's continuously, right? If I just pay them to stay home, I precisely know how much salary I pay them, benefits, bonus, whatever, right? But more importantly, I open up a position for someone else who's more open-minded and is more interested in guaranteeing our mutual long-term success, right? So it's not about being heartless, it's about being pragmatic, right? This is not, a transformation process is not a redundancy issue where I have to lay off 1,000 people to survive, or I have too much capacity, or I had a fire in a factory and I can't rebuild it. The last thing, which is very important, and it's where the human resource team really needs to come in, is the clear communication, transparency, and repetitive, and the vision has to be clear to every level in the company and in all your overseas operations. Once you have overseas operations, even with cloud infrastructure and stuff, there's cultural issues that come up. There's language issues that come up. So you'll see later what we call our core values and principles, or would actually bring everybody together and hold them together. And most importantly, those values and principles guide us in a new situation with what we should do, who we are, and how we conduct ourselves. If you decide that, for example, salaries, you want to be at least in the 50th percentile, you can't just say in my headquarters I'm in the 50th or 60th percentile of salary. And then I go to a low-cost country and, oh, this is great, I'll be in the 20th percentile and I can still hire people. It's going to cause problems over time. You have to hold the same value that it's important to you that your employees earn a decent wage so they can have an above average living standard no matter where they work. So for transformation, for cheap companies like the one I work on, always focus on cost, I try to teach them it's a different kind of cost. You have to address cultural obstacles first. Otherwise, you have zero chance of succeeding. Digital transformation, AI, just normal process, zero. The organization design is the next thing you have to address, because people have to work together. And you have to design a system that shows people they have a career path and a future. Right? It's not just a job, it's a career. Otherwise, they're not engaged. And if people aren't engaged, they're not paying attention. Right? A lot of people think you got to take care of the strategy. No, you take care of a vision. Then you use this process how to direct everybody to reach that vision. The last thing we worry about is technology. Buying technology is easy. Getting people to use it is the difficult part, especially in traditional businesses. So if you're in manufacturing, and your biggest obstacle is probably the cost accounting department. Because when I change a process related to a new tool for cost accounting, it impacts every financial statement, right? Every budget line item. Means they need to do the most work. They're going to be the most resistant. So when you're choosing a technology tool, whether it's an ERP system, right, other kind of financial tool, or just a general purpose management tool, please think